Hello everyone and welcome back to my full moon news series. It's been a while since I've done this actually. That's partially due to my bad health, along with the fact that the news I found doesn't really fit this particular series. For those of you who don't know, Full Moon News is a series on my channel where I present strange stories from the gaming world and give my opinion about them. It goes with that odd notion that the full moon makes people crazy. I don't really believe that, but it's just for fun. Now that the little intro is out of the way, let's get started. Our first story takes a trip to see what Nintendo is up to. Nintendo in itself is actually a bit of a strange company. I mean, this is a company that announced the Labo, after all. Sometimes their strangeness is good and they do interesting things, the Wii being a prime example of this. And sometimes their strangeness is bad and they annoy many people. Unfortunately, the latter is the deal this time. In early September, Nintendo announced Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which is a collection of 3 of the 3D Mario games: Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. Oddly, they didn't include Mario Galaxy 2. I suppose they didn't need to, really, but it might have been cool. Now, that sounds pretty nice, right? Assuming you like Mario games, of course. I'm not a super huge fan of these particular games, but I'd totally play this collection if I got it for free or really, really cheap. And if you already own those games or just aren't interested, they're also offering an online Battle Royale platformer called Super Mario 35, which is free. Though, since Nintendo decided to do the same irksome thing as every other console company, you need to have their online subscription service to play. And that does cost money, naturally. Here's where the oddity comes in, though. The game is only being sold until the end of March 2021. Now, that would be odd enough if they were just doing it for the physical copy of Mario 3D All-Stars. For example, if they weren't restocking various game retailers after March with physical copies, well, that'd still be a bit strange. But limited time physical items aren't new. Besides, Nintendo has a habit of not being very generous with stock of their goods, the mini Super Nintendo thing being a prime example, as I remember. Anyway, yeah, it'd be weird, but not as noteworthy as what is actually going on, which is that even the digital version of the game will disappear March 31st, 2021. Not only that, but Super Mario 35, which is purely digital, purely online, is also only playable until that same time. Now, you could make the argument that it's not so bad or rare to do this, considering that this is being done for Super Mario's 35th anniversary. However, I think their reasoning has a bit of a sinister undertone, and that is that they're using their oft-used artificial scarcity tactic, which is also mixed with a dash of playing upon the in-group, out-group dynamic of many of the gaming population. As I mentioned before, Nintendo has a habit of not providing ample stock to retailers, so they've done this whole thing plenty of times. It makes sense when you think of it from a very cynical point of view. People want this game, most likely, but normally they might wait until it goes on sale or until some retailer has a secondhand copy. However, by putting a time limit on it, you kill any shot of getting it via a sale or getting it secondhand that is also far less likely. This will create people who spend money they normally wouldn't, all because they don't want to miss out. Missing out on cool limited things puts you in the outgroup after all, and people generally don't enjoy that. It's quite the wily trick, really. I just think it's kind of scummy, personally. That's just my opinion on it, though. That's what I do with this. Give the odd story, and then I give my opinion. And with that, let us move on. Our second story also deals with Nintendo, funnily enough. As you all know, we're stuck in quite the tight spot with this current coronavirus pandemic. Naturally, people are going to be talking about it, even in the gaming space. After all, lots of us are gaming far more because we're stuck inside with little to do. However, it seems that Nintendo has decided they would rather we not talk about the virus on their platform. They've banned a list of words from being used in usernames, in-game messages, and search terms for custom content. The list includes the words COVID, coronavirus, and ACAB, ACAB. That last one doesn't seem to be about the pandemic. Oh, yeah, okay, that's apparently more about political speech. So, anyway, I guess Nintendo doesn't want us talking about many distressing current events on their platform. This actually isn't new, interestingly enough. In Nintendo's Japanese terms of use, they state that political advocacy in-game is not allowed. This doesn't seem to fully be the case for the American and European terms of use, however. By the way, the system is not really perfect and can apparently be circumvented pretty easily. As an example, coronavirus as one word is censored, but if you type the words corona and virus separately, there is no censorship. It does make some sense. After all, virus is a very broad term and probably wouldn't be a good word to block. I'm a bit surprised about corona, though, as the only other use I know of for it is a beer brand name. Then again, people go around these types of filters on a constant basis on just about every platform that uses such censorship. So, I suppose I understand what Nintendo is trying to do here. They most likely just want games to be sort of an escape for people, and talking about politics and pandemics isn't exactly conducive to that. In addition, there is also a great deal of misinformation floating around about COVID-19, and this can be one way to combat that. Pretty much every other social media platform is trying their own ways to make sure people are not misled by falsehoods as well. However, I personally don't think this is a good way of doing that. To be honest, I really don't believe in censorship of any kind. Now, if you want to have a rule saying people can't make claims about the virus or any other contentious topic, then I think that's pretty fair. I just think outright blocking words does no good. It also sort of fosters a mistrust. Sort of a, what are they trying to hide thought process. I also don't fully understand why you would ban any form of political advocacy. As I said before, the only reason I can think of for that particular rule is the idea that games are meant for escapism, and thus politics and other touchy subjects shouldn't really be a part of that. Now, whether games are purely for an escape from reality, or they are vessels for the potential opening up of important topics that are a part of the real world, is totally subjective. Still, it's pretty strange that they took this approach and did so pretty ineffectively. And our last story is... EA. They're usually more scummy than odd, but I think this current trend of theirs has definitely ventured into insane territory. In August, EA released UFC 4. Same old junk, nothing big, but oh wait, they just had to go that extra mile. Apparently, a month after the game's release, they decided to put ads into their game. Now, sports video games have product placement all over the place, just like sports events in real life. Unlike the typical ads plastered around the game's arena backgrounds, though, EA decided to put nearly full-screen ads into their games and during the game, along with pop-ups at the bottom, as you can see here. As you can imagine, the fans were not happy about this intrusive junk and were quite vocal about it. The clip I just showed was actually from a Reddit post saying how EA put ads into a $60 game and noted that it was obviously done after release in order to skirt around the big reviewers calling them out or even noting it to their audiences. Naturally, this caused a great deal of backlash. Gamers are quite a vocal community after all, for better or for worse. Thanks to that, EA issued an apology and removed the ads that the game had in it. It was a typical corporate apology, but I did love this one line. They said at one point, "It is abundantly clear from your feedback that integrating ads is not welcome." No, really? I mean, are they seriously so out of touch with their consumers that they think people like ads or wouldn't be mad? This is really slimy. Now, I could be okay with the little pop-up on the bottom of the screen. That's annoying, but not the most awful thing ever. But that full screen ad? Did anyone really think gamers would be okay with that? I know rich corporate types are out of touch, but this is a whole other level. As an addition to EA's ad extravaganza, we have another little entry. The Sims 4 is a life simulation game made by Maxis. Unfortunately for Sims fans, Maxis is owned by EA. So now Sims fans get to put up with the cash-grabbing junk that EA does. You could say that the cash grabbing is obvious, even on the surface, just by looking at how many expansion packs, stuff packs, and game packs there are. To own The Sims 4 with everything at full price will cost you around $700, I believe. Whew, sheesh. That's way too much money. What's worse is that the game has been out for 6 years now, and there are still things missing from it that previous games had. I could rant plenty about how Sims 4 is messed up, but I'll stick to just this one thing for today. Firstly, though, you should know that EA, in addition to owning The Sims, also has the license for the Star Wars games. Again, ugh. And thanks to this, EA decided that it would be a good idea to combine these two totally different things. As I said before, The Sims is about life simulation. Yeah, there's some goofy stuff in it that isn't realistic, but this time they've taken that to a whole other level. With Sims fans asking for core gameplay changes like more skin tones, better emotions, etc., EA decided to ignore that and make their next expansion pack Journey to Batuu. Yes, a life sim got a Star Wars expansion pack. How is this an ad, you might ask? Well, you see, Disney World is getting a new section called Galaxy's Edge, which is a Star Wars themed area of the park with various attractions. So, the Journey to Batuu pack is none other than one giant ad for Galaxy's Edge. It's bad enough having ads in games or product placement, but I think this is a whole other level of insanity. As with our previous EA mess, the fans aren't happy. The pack is still a thing, of course, but EA did give a response to the fans that was, well, kind of dismissive, I think. They can't really cater to what the fans want immediately. Well, one could argue that they could make the pack free so we don't have to pay for a giant ad in our game, but come on, they won't do that. Silly me. As with the USC 4 ad mess, I think this is pretty scummy. Not only do we have a giant ad as an expansion pack, but this was made all while things like skin tones, the emotion system, bunk beds, and other things previous iterations of The Sims had go by the wayside. I don't blame Maxis entirely for this. I think they're mostly being given orders from EA about what to focus on, even though it's obviously not what the fans want. These big publishers really are out of touch with their fan base. I think developers tend to know what their communities want, but as long as publishers have the final say and they remain super greedy with no checks and balances, well, this is the result. It's really quite a shame, not only for The Sims, but for the gaming community as a whole. And that'll conclude this edition of Full Moon News. I hope you enjoyed it. As you can see, I added gameplay in the background so you'd have things to look at while I talk, besides the few things that are relevant to the stories. Let me know if you like this format for videos like this. And feel free to leave other feedback in the form of likes or dislikes, as well as comments. And if you decide you like my videos, new subscribers are always welcome. Lastly, if you want to financially support my work, there are links in the description to do that. I would very, very much appreciate it. But if you can't or don't want to, that's cool too. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best. Mata ne!